What's up everybody, welcome to Balkan Moto. Today we continue with the strip down of the V-Star 1100 and with some design work. Let's check it out. Alright, so for today we're going to start with the rear of the bike. We're gonna take the seat off, we're gonna unmount the pretty much everything that's attached to the rear fender and move the rear light, the license plate, the blinkers, disconnect all that stuff and take it all off until we kind of get to just the frames there. We're also gonna remove the pegs, the rear pegs, just so we can kind of get an idea of what we're working with and start designing some of the bracketry and kind of look of the back of the bike. So let's get started by taking off the seat and the pillion, the passenger pegs. Seat is off. It was just held on by two Allen key bolts, and the left side passenger peg is also off, held by 12mm bolts. The seat ones were attached here, and the peg obviously attached to the frame. I might just shave this off completely since we're not going to need it, but we'll decide on that later. Let's take this guy off, and then we're going to move on to taking off some of the electronics, because I believe most of it is in, well actually no, I think we can probably take these off and see where this goes after that. So let's get this off. Okay, so after you take off the support bolts on the sides, pretty much the entire rear fender assembly with all the lights and the stuff in the back can be lifted up. However, it is held in place by this plastic cover, which is also connected to this plastic cover, and it's held in place by these little plastic tabs. So pressing the center of them, so this little center hole thing, you press the center and it kind of releases it, so you can then take them out. And once you take out this one, under it you can see the plug for all the rear lighting, and this can now come off entirely with the whole rear. And boom, rear of the bike, done. So I can just put that here for now. And that is what the back of the bike looks like. So obviously we don't need all this. So that will likely get cut in one way or another. So more than likely right here. So kind of where it's welded, but just below it. We'll cut it off here. The bobbed fender will likely get attached to a bracket mounting to this piece right here. And then we'll need to make some sort of seat pan that will ultimately end up covering this hole in a way that the electronics can still fit, but allow for a little bit better, you know, kind of having a seat pan here and then an actual seat on top of it. So that's it here. Let's take off some of this stuff just to see what's there, and maybe take off these side covers to see what's behind them. I think behind one of them is the battery, probably behind this one. I think the other one is just a little storage compartment, but either way, worth taking a look at. All right, so we took off the plastic cover on top that had the, I'm not even sure what it is. It's some sort of controller of some sort. So that's out. Then we took the covers off. The cover on this side had such like small clearance that I had to like bend it to get it out without taking off the exhaust. I think that's because this battery is probably slightly bigger, like maybe by 1 millimeter or 2. On this side we find that there is a toolkit included, so that's good. The bike comes with the toolkit. What's in it? Typical stuff. So kind of a makeshift screwdriver, some Allen keys, a bunch of wrenches, yeah, it's a good little on-the-go kit. That'll probably do me good to keep on the bike. Fuse boxes on this side. And then we have a bunch of stuff that I'm not sure I understand. I'm pretty sure that's the main relay, because that's where the battery goes. And then we have this thing, which looks like some sort of fluid filter that's coming down and going into whatever that is. This is probably some sort of little pump that's pumping stuff all around through these hoses and whatnot. So I'm sure if I read the manual, I'll probably figure out what those are. What else do we have? One thing that I'm not sure where it is, and I suspect it might be behind this cover here, and I'll probably try to take it off, or at least peek behind it somehow, is the regulator rectifier. Again, I'll have to check the manual, but I do plan on doing the same thing that I did to the Cafe Racer with this guy, and replacing this battery with a lithium-ion battery. And for that to work properly, we'll need a regulator rectifier that can work with that. So that's gonna be done at some point. The rear shock, we can see, is mounted upright like that, again through some sort of funky linkage, which is fine. We're gonna keep that shock because we want suspension. Yeah, so this part here will be cleaned up, and we'll figure out what to do with. For now, let me take some measurements, and we're probably gonna cut this off today, just so we can start planning for how to build things. Yeah, so let me take a look at what needs to be cut, see if I can find that regulator rectifier, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, so after referring to the manual, this box right here, just under the battery, the one that's labeled L or 25, comes right under here. That's where the regulator rectifier is, so I was kind of right. As for the other side, and this is kind of what I was suspecting, this thing with all these hoses that run around the engine and all that, that's the ventilation rebreather system. That's for emissions and whatnot. I'm pretty sure there's a kit out there that removes all of that and cleans up the engine. So we're more than likely going to do that. And fix all this setup. This little pump here, I believe, is some sort of fuel pump, or at least there was a note in there about a fuel pump being in and around here, which is kind of funny because why is fuel being pumped? We have a carburetor system, so I don't know, maybe it's the reserve tank is like this thing here. I don't know. That's kind of funny, and I think there's probably some interesting stuff behind this cover here too. So either way, let's take a look at how we're going to be cutting this off. All right, so I confirmed I have to cut kind of leveled with the flat part here. For the job, I've put this piece of metal that I have that's extra as kind of a protection for all the sparks that are going to fly out. And we'll see how well that works out, if it flies into my face or if it flies the other way. And we need to cut on this side and then on the other side, and we should be able to take that off in one whole piece. And then we can decide what to do with it. But for now, let's get cutting. Yes. All right, and that's what the bike looks like with the rear fender support off. I ended up grinding these down to flatten them as much as possible, and they're actually still a little hot. This one I couldn't get the angle right, so there's these two nicks into it, but that's all going to be covered up and not really visible. And yeah, the bobber look is actually like spot on. So in terms of seat and fender, the new fender I'm getting is going to actually mount to the swing arm, so it's going to hug the tire pretty much like right on. And we're going to make a belly pan, a seat pan over here with the custom seat. So the overall stance actually would end up looking, or rather the seating position will end up looking kind of like so. That's definitely quite a bit lower and further back, so the foot controls are actually in the right spot now. They're not way too close, so I probably won't need to modify those at all in terms of making brackets for them. Now it's just a matter of getting the handlebars such that around here, a little further back, maybe get risers for them. But pretty happy with this. Let's take some pictures of it as is and go to modify that in Photoshop. Alright, now that we have the bike all chopped up in the real world, let's do some chopping in the virtual world. So first, let's get rid of the stuff that we definitely know we're not going to need, like the handlebars, for example, and the background. So to do that, let's take that out and bring just that in. Then next, we know we're going to be adding a bobbed rear fender, so that would end up looking kind of like this, as well as a bobber seat with a seat pen. And the other thing that I mentioned I was going to do is a jockey shift, so the shifter will become kind of down here, so, and the foot clutch. So that would mean now that the handlebars end up being pretty clean. We won't have any levers on them. The throttle will be internally throttled, so they should end up looking something closer to that. So that's kind of like what the bike ends up looking now. Just to kind of make it a little bit more visible there, we'll put it on the background, and that's kind of like what we're looking at. To make it a little bit more designerish, let's make it black and white. So that's more or less what we're going for. Alright guys, that was it for this episode. We've made some great progress on the bike so far. We have a design and we're ready to start building. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell for notifications when new videos become available. Check me out on Instagram at Balkan Moto 2018 and make sure to check out balkanmoto.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.